is one of those moments where
Yeah.
having those relationships are important,
Really?
not because they're going to definitely buy your script,
No.
but because you have a warmer read. I think we should talk about the process, or at least the experience of taking a spec screenplay to market.
Great.
Jake and I, we currently have a spec screenplay out in the world. So fingers crossed.
Yes.
Hey,
we'll call
you
it a
never know
spec
what's gonna
screenplay for all
happen.
intents and purposes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
It's a spec.
Yeah.
Kinda. It's been specced again.
Spec.
It was originally, I mean, look, the backstory is, I'm going to take up some of our 15 minutes now, Jake.
It was a project that we sold to Sony 6 years ago. We got it back.
Pitch. It was an original.
Yes.
That we then sold to Sony.
Yes.
Back in 2015, early 2015.
Yep.
And we wrote a draft for Sony, and then things happen as they do in Hollywood, and they decided not to go forward and make the movie. But there's this nice little thing that the Writers Guild allows you to do. After 5 years, if there's been no active development on your project, you have the right of reacquisition. Yeah. It is a right as a union member to have. And because of that right, we were able to ask Sony for our script back.
Yes.
And the terms are that we have to pay them everything that they paid us.
Yeah.
But here's the fun part about it. We're not going to pay them.
No.
We're hoping we're going to find someone else to pay them.
Yeah.
So in this case, we had a draft, but of course it was a first-ish draft. So the reason I say it is a spec screenplay is because what we then did is we spec'd two more drafts of that script for both our producer.
From both the producer and the actor attached to star.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so we now have a new version of that screenplay that is out in the market. We have a wonderful director and a wonderful actor both attached.
Yeah.
And the process is an interesting one.
Yeah. So what happens when you let's say, got everything packaged up, you've got all the pieces in place. What happens then?
Well, what happens then all depends on who your pieces of your package are, honestly. Yeah. But the idea would be then to make a list of where to go, right? If you have a super high-powered producer, they may be the ones who are making that list. If you have a super high-powered director with their own production company, then they may be the ones running with that list.
And where to go, we mean studios who are actually going to make
buyers, any buyers.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of your movie, will also determine what buyers you're going to.
Right.
Your agents will hopefully be involved in that. Your manager will hopefully be involved in that.
Yeah.
Your lawyer probably isn't involved at this stage yet.
No, probably not.
But they are waiting in the wings, knowing that a project is going out to the town.
Yes.
Hoping that there will be an offer. And so you make that list, and usually based on the package, you're going to go to places where there are relationships, go to places where you just know they're looking for this kind of material, you know that they can afford this kind of project, you know that they have been, wanting to work with this actor, wanting to work with this director. Sometimes it's our relationships, but most of the time, everybody else's relationships.
It's a combination, and sometimes you might, have a list of studios, and you might go, who likes who at what studio?
Yeah.
So you might go, okay, well, we've got a relationship with this exec over here, and they might go, well, we have no relationships there at all, so that's great. And the other one might be, well, we've got this relationship and we've got this relationship. Which one is more important?
Yes. And bringing back all the way to a previous conversation we had about relationships in this business, because this is one of those moments where having those relationships are important, not because they're going to definitely buy your script, but because you have a warmer read. And by warmer, I just mean that they've read you before. They know you can work. They know you can write. Or they've worked with the director before. They know they can pull it off. And so there's just a little bit more acceptance in terms of, okay, this script may not be ready to shoot tomorrow, but I have faith in the team around it that we can get it there. So once you have that list, then again, it depends on the situation. Either your reps or your producer will start to make calls. And this is where having a log line might help you, because your reps and your agent have to call up the executives at these various places that they've all determined are the best executives to go to. And they have to say, hey, I've got a script written by Ben and Jake, and it's got this director and this actor. And they're going to go, cool, what's it about? And they have to be able to say what it's about in a way that makes the executive go, yeah, I'd like to read that.
Yeah, totally. Right? Yeah. So now, having the log line helps. I mean, log line, they might read the log line, or they might just go, oh, it's a great, in this particular case, fantasy heist movie set in ancient Arabia. So-and-so's attached to star, so-and-so's attached to direct, and it's been produced by blank. You interested?
Totally. And I think that all depends on how high concept your idea is.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah. So if your idea is easily pitchable in 3 words, and you can go, it's a fantasy
Santa in space.
Santa in space. Then you don't need a full log line. But if you have a slightly more complex idea that needs a little of explaining, you're going to need to probably have something to help your reps or your producer actually pitch that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, in our case, in this particular situation, because the movie was developed at a previous studio, we wrote a letter to potential new buyers saying, here's the history of the project. And this is what we would like to do with it moving forward. We'll see how that goes. We'll let you know. And then you hope that everyone that your agent and producer has called, everybody on this master list that they've compiled, goes, yeah, I'd like to read that. That sounds cool. And then the script is sent out. And the script is sent to these buyers who are reading your script. And in the old days, like
the old days, you mean
9 years ago,
2019.
I mean, even I feel like it's been getting worse and worse and worse ever since we sold Winter's Night. But there used to be urgency behind reading those scripts. I assume that there still is, depending on the project.
Right.
I can only
funny though, isn't it? Because it does just feel like we were saying today. Our script went out on Friday, and we might not hear back for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, which is weird.
Which is weird for a screenplay, because I feel like I can read a screenplay in 2 or 3 hours. I don't know why it's taking places. Is there a backlog? I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there's just an enormous backlog of scripts that studios are reading. Maybe there is. But it does just feel at the moment that things are taking a really long time for things to get read. And I don't know, genuinely don't know the answer.
I think there is... I think there's a lot of development that was probably purchased during the pandemic. So the urgency to fill those development spots isn't quite there.
Sure.
I think that there probably is a backlog of scripts, but that's why you try and put together the best package you can, because the reality is, yes, they have a lot to read, but they're always going to put the most exciting thing on the top of that pile, no matter how old the other one.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Especially if they think someone else might be interested first, because they want to get in on it. The thing that's happened, which is really strange, is that no one seems to feel like they have to rush because someone else might be interested first.
Right.
So, today is Monday. The script went out on Friday. We haven't heard anything, and I don't expect to.
I don't expect to hear anything today. Yeah.
In 2014, when we sold Winter's Night, I would have. Yeah. And so I don't really know what's changed.
But it was interesting, wasn't it? Because even when The Princess went out, went out, and we had you know,
2020, and we had
and it
weeks
was
and weeks before we heard.
I want to say it was about 3 weeks, and we were kind of going, "Oh, it hasn't sold."
Well, and there were multiple people that were interested, but everyone wanted different things, and there was much less of a frenzy.
Right.
There used to be this thing with a hot spec where it was a frenzy.
And I wonder if there's still this aspect of like I feel like occasionally, even now, I see on Deadline like hot package.
Hot package, yes. How often do you just see hot spec by itself?
Totally. I think it's
rare. I feel like it's always a hot package.
A hot package.
And there is a frenzy around that, or a hot IP.
Is a hot package similar to a hot pocket?
I don't know. You can't fit that package in your pocket. So the thing is that in 2014 we took out what was a hot package. It really was. We had great directors, a big producer, a great our other producer, and a great script, not to toot our own horn too much. But that was a really interesting scenario. I mean, they played that. Like, they had done back channeling to see if anyone would be interested. So they knew where interest was before ever sending the script out. Yeah. They then set meetings with the directors and the studios that were the most interested very specifically. And they had sent the script only like, I think, a day before the meeting. Yeah. And then they told everyone, don't give us an offer yet, even if you're interested. They, like, our agent at the time played it like, there's going to be an auction on Friday. Right. You can place your offers then. And it was a very ballsy move, I think. But I think he had at least 2 people contact him at that point saying, we might be interested in this, to know that there was going to be at least some kind of an auction. Yeah. And then that Thursday night, we got a call saying there's 5 studios interested. We're going to have an auction tomorrow morning. And that was a really kind of crazy, frenetic, interesting thing. You had Deadline articles updating the course of that bidding war. Yeah. I don't see that very often anymore. Yeah,
I feel like I've seen it maybe once or twice over the last year and a half. And again, it's all been packages, all been these.
Right. It's like, oh, hot package with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
But anyway, the reality is you're still going to take your spec to market because we all got to sell our specs. So you do what you can, and you wait.
And then if multiple people become interested in it, that's great. That's obviously going to up the price. Normally, you may then also be able to work in extra aspects as part of the deal. You can say, well, if you've reached a similar price point and they're both still in, you can say, well, can I have a producer credit? There are other things that you can start to bargain if people want it enough, and
hopefully, what you hope for is that one person, because it only takes one person calls your agent and says, I love it. Yeah. Then your agent goes and calls everyone else that it went to and says, I have an offer. You interested or not? Yeah. And then they can start the frenzy, hopefully. But you need that first bite. That's the really interesting part of it. Is like, and we went through that on The Princess. It's like you need the first bite to start start that frenzy. Yeah. Everybody just wait. It's like everybody sits back and goes, is someone else going to take a bite?
Totally.
Am I going to be the first
and it's weird because there are some buyers out there, Netflix, who won't make an offer until someone else has made an offer.
Yeah, and then they'll make such a big offer that they just, because they're just like, take it off the table. We have not experienced that.
We've not experienced that, but it's very known that this company does that.
So anyway, if you're lucky enough, you'll have more than one offer, then you'll get to experience what we did through having a bidding war, and that is insanely exciting and lucky and God bless. Yeah. And if you at least have one person who's willing to offer, that's when your lawyer jumps in.
Indeed.
And then your lawyer is the one who negotiates the deal.
Going through deals and all. We're going through what's called an if-come deal at the moment. I think we talked about this the other day on a TV show. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about what those deals look like and the kinds of things that are.
Yeah, we can talk about deals another time. We've hit the 20-minute mark. I think we talked 5 minutes prior to
about 15 minutes. I think it's pretty good.
About 15 minutes on the way in which taking us back to market happens. I'm sure it was thrilling for everyone. So